Picture someone you admire, kind, just, and unwavering in their morals. The kind of person who stands for what's right, who helps without asking for anything in return. Now imagine, over time, that same person becomes unrecognizable. They lie, they betray, they destroy. They do things they once swore they never would. How does this happen? How does someone who was once good turn into something monstrous? Today we're diving into the hidden forces that push even the most righteous among us toward darkness. This is not just philosophy or psychology. This is real. It has happened before. It is happening now. And the most terrifying part, it could happen to you. You might believe you are immune, that you could never cross those lines. But history tells a different story. Science tells a different story. And if you truly understood how easily goodness can be eroded, you would never look at yourself or humanity the same way again. There's a pattern, a slow descent, and it always starts the same way. At first it's just a compromise, small, almost insignificant, a lie told to avoid conflict, a rule bent for a greater good. But every compromise makes the next one easier. And before long, the person who once drew a firm line between right and wrong now moves that line whenever it suits them. This is the slippery slope, the first step in the transformation. But there's something even more dangerous, the illusion of righteousness. People don't just excuse their own wrongdoing, they justify it. They convince themselves they're still good, still noble, still fighting for justice, even when their actions prove otherwise. History's worst atrocities were not committed by people who saw themselves as villains. They were carried out by those who believed, without a shadow of doubt, that they were right. This is how it happens, step by step, and the scariest part, they never realize they've changed until it's too late. But here's the question you don't want to ask yourself. Under the right pressures, in the right circumstances, could it happen to you? You already know the answer. And that's exactly why you need to keep watching. The transformation doesn't happen in an instant. It's not a switch flipped overnight. It's a slow, creeping shift, and it works because it feels normal. A person doesn't wake up one day and decide to betray their morals. No, but it begins with self-justifications. I had no choice. They deserved it. It's for the greater good. Each lie smooths the path for the next one. Each compromise erases a little more of the conscience. But what accelerates this descent? Two things: authority and belonging. People obey authority, even when it goes against everything they stand for. History has proven this over and over. Why? Because obedience feels safe. It removes a responsibility. It lets a person say, "I was just following orders," as if that absolves them of the weight of their actions. And then there's the power of the group. When people attach themselves to an ideology, a movement, or a cause, something changes in them. Their identity fuses with the group. And once that happens, anyone outside of it becomes the other. And when someone is the other, it's easier to dehumanize them, to justify harm, to strip them of their humanity until hurting them feels not just acceptable, but necessary. This is how good people turn into monsters, not because they were always evil, but because they let their boundaries shift, because they obeyed without question, because they convinced themselves that their cause was more important than their conscience, because they stopped seeing people as people. And it has been tested over and over. The Milgram experiment. In 1961, Psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted an experiment to see just how far people would go in obeying authority, even if it meant harming another person. Participants were told they were part of a study on learning. They were instructed to administer electric shocks to another participant, who was actually an actor, every time they answered a question incorrectly. With each wrong answer, the voltage increased. The actor, pretending to be in pain, would scream, beg for mercy, and eventually fall silent. And yet, 65% of participants went all the way to the highest voltage, 450 volts, simply because a man in a lab coat told them to. They weren't bad people. They weren't sadists. They were ordinary individuals who had been conditioned to obey authority. And they did things they never thought they were capable of. Sound familiar? The worst part, many of them justified their actions afterward, saying things like, "I was just following orders. I didn't have a choice. It's not my fault. This is how it starts. This is how it spreads." The Stanford prison experiment. If you think only weak-willed people fall into darkness, think again. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo conducted an experiment at Stanford University. He divided students into two groups, prison guards and prisoners. It was supposed to last 2 weeks. It lasted 6 days. The guards, who were just normal students hours before, quickly became abusive. They humiliated the prisoners, denied them food, and even forced them to strip naked. Why? Because power changed them. It wasn't just bad people who became monsters. It was anyone given unchecked control over others. And the prisoners? They accepted the abuse. They stopped fighting back. They believed they were truly powerless. The lesson? Put anyone in the right conditions, and they can become something they never imagined. And this is happening right now. If you're still watching, let me know in the comments. Do you think you'd resist in those experiments? Or would you give in? And while you're here, hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Now let's look at a real historical example. Julius Caesar's most trusted ally, Marcus Junius Brutus. Brutus wasn't just any Roman senator. He was a man of principle, raised with the ideals of the Republic. He despised tyranny. He believed in democracy. He was loyal to Caesar, his mentor, his friend, almost like a father to him. And yet Brutus did the unthinkable. He stabbed Caesar to death. How does someone go from loyalty to betrayal? At first it was about duty, the idea that the Republic was more important than one man, that Caesar, despite his greatness, had to be stopped before he became a tyrant. But here's the problem. Brutus wasn't just making a political choice. He was justifying betrayal. And in that split second, he crossed a line he could never uncross. What happened next? Rome didn't return to peace. It collapsed into chaos. So how do you protect yourself from becoming the villain? First, question everything, every decision, every justification. The moment you catch yourself saying, "It's just a small thing," stop. Because small things become big things. Lies grow. Justifications multiply. And before you know it, you're standing in the wreckage of your own making, wondering how it all happened. Second, surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth. Not the ones who flatter you, not the ones who go along with everything you say, but the ones who will call you out when you start slipping. Because if the only voices you hear are the ones that always agree with you, you're already in danger. Third, never let loyalty to a group, an ideology, or a cause blind you to what's right. The moment you start believing that your side can do no wrong, you've already lost your way. Good people have done terrible things in the name of something they believed was righteous. History is littered with the ruins of those who thought they were fighting for justice, until they looked back and saw the destruction they left behind. And finally, remember this: power reveals. The more power you have, whether in your career, your relationships, or even just the influence you hold over others, the easier it is to think the rules don't apply to you. Because the moment you believe you could never fall is the moment you're already at risk. Hit like and subscribe if you found this eye-opening, and drop a comment. Do you think you would resist or fall like the others? Because in the end, the monster doesn't come from outside. It comes from within.